Lily, Madwhip, Must Die, Chapter 25. The plan revealed. The chalkboard is set up. Samael has erased everything he drew and is now redrawing it, or something like it. More crazy notes in other languages, doodles of things I don't recognize, and twirly arrow lines pointing from one thing to another. Abaddon is watching from the sidelines. He's got an expression like the coach of the worst Little League baseball team. Sometimes, Samael says something to him really excitedly and gestures at what he just drew. Abaddon doesn't react. He doesn't even do that thing where you smile and nod even though you don't really mean it. He stands there, forearms crossed, stone-faced. Samael doesn't seem to notice. He's rambling on. So, the idea was that with the universe expanding, the beast would never be able to reach the center, right? But even then, we're not at the center. The center is actually a trick. Get the beast to think it needs to reach the center to find us. But if by some miracle it somehow gets there, it finds more nothing. He flaps his hands dramatically at an empty spot on the board. I look at Abaddon. How can you stand there, watching him talk like they left the doors unlocked at Sunnyvale Sanitarium? It's true, the four-armed giant replies. All of it. Pashar would tell you, but he's convinced that the boundaries of the universe will hold. And you're not? I think this is a little outside my pay grade, as my mom liked to say. I don't have the luxury of faith. He casts his heavy gaze down on me. I am Abaddon of the bottomless pit, guardian of the abyss. Eternity is just a word for an unfathomable length of time, but all things end. Even the universe. Okay, gloomy Gus. I decide it's probably better for my brain to listen to Samael's rantings than try to get answers from Mister. Guardian of the abyss. Samael cracks his piece of chalk on the board while circling the word strength 100 dozen times. He spins around. Do you see? He asks me directly. His eyeballs aren't spinning in their sockets, but I can imagine them doing it. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You know, I had a PE teacher who used to say that. His name was Mr. Busby. Mr. Busby loved two things: wearing ridiculously small shorts and making kids play dodgeball. Every stinking day, it was dodgeball. Except when he was required to make us take embarrassing tests of strength, like, how long can you hang from the chin-up bar, while he yelled at you, just do one, just one chin-up, Maverick. Come on, my grandmother could do one chin-up and she's 80. Mr. Busby never called us by our first names, which made it confusing for the kids who shared the same last name. During dodgeball, he would always stand on the sidelines in his ridiculously small shorts, bordered by all the lucky kids who had doctor's notes saying they didn't have to participate. He had a whistle. He would blow that could burst eardrums. Mr. Busby loved blowing his whistle almost as much as he loved making kids play dodgeball. I think he liked to blow it right in the kids, with doctor's notes ears, before yelling at the rest of us, who were stuck in the dodgeball hell, stuff like, "You're out, Maverick," or "My grandmother could have dodged that and she's got a busted hip." I think Mr. Busby liked to put his grandmother through the same shit he tortured us with. Samael dances past me over to a table I hadn't noticed. He opens a drawer and starts tossing pieces of colored chalk out with both hands until he finds one that looks like it was made out of a rainbow that got twisted like a barbershop pole. He holds it up, grins to himself, then skips back over to his chalkboard and starts drawing again. Does he seem normal to you? I ask Abaddon. Abaddon gives a heavy sigh. You're not baiting me into a discussion on whether my brother has lost himself in delirium. I am fully committed to seeing this through, seeing what through. And what is delirium? Samael twirls around on his toes and brushes his hair back with one chalk dust-covered hand, turning his white hair into rainbow sherbet. Delirium, he says with pointy teeth, is an altered state of perception that some attribute to a compromised mental faculty, but others, myself included, understand that it's all subjective. The majority decides what reality to believe in, but that doesn't make it true. You would be locked up for telling people monsters exist, wouldn't you? But you and I know they're real. I shrug. That depends on what your definition of a monster is. Exactly! He says it so excitedly, he snaps his brand new piece of rainbow sherbet chalk in his hand. To some, my daughter Lamia was a monster. Who? He blinks rapidly at me for a moment. Snakebutt. Oh, to some, she was a monster just because looked different, but I saw her for what she was beneath her skin. I feel the need to interrupt. I mean, Snakebutt had a whole torture dungeon. Samael squints. Yes, but full of people she kept in cages and fish tanks. There's a moment in his eyes where I think Samael might actually be rethinking the whole not murdering me promise. Look, nobody's perfect, okay? Abaddon coughs loudly and intentionally. Samael throws the broken chalk at his four-armed brother. Nobody. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't aspire to it. He drops his head and frantically waves his hands in the air. We're getting off topic. Damn it all. How do you get through the day with all of this nonsense churning around in your meatball? Why are you making it sound like this is my fault? Somewhere in the distance, a heavy-sounding door slams shut, causing a bunch of chains to rattle. It really sells the whole moldy castle basement atmosphere that they've got going on here. I wonder where Samael's obsession with dark, slimy, dank stone cellars comes from. Maybe he watched a lot of horror movies growing up. Abaddon drops his arms and stiffens at the sounds. They're almost here. He sounds anxious. He clenches his four fists and takes a step back from the doorway. I'm looking at Abaddon, so I don't notice Samael move toward me, but suddenly he's right there. He grabs my wrist and gets right in my face. If my pants weren't already wet, they would be. But they are, so there's no real reason to hold back now. I want to apologize, Lily. His breath smells like vinegar. I'm deeply sorry that I had to involve you in all of this. I try to pull my arm free, but he doesn't let go. Maybe the snake butt discussion really did change his mind and he's going to kill me after all. Will his freaky, pale face and red eyes be the last thing I see? Why did you? I hear myself asking from what seems like 2 rooms away. Why did you have to involve me? He lets go of my arm. Because you alone exist outside the will of the word. By involving you? Abaddon lunges suddenly toward us. Sam, no. He grabs his brother and pulls him away from me. You're doing that thing you told me to make sure you didn't do. Mr. Sword, that cuts the darkness, clutches his head and shakes it like he's trying to pull it off. Yes, you're right. Let go, please. I won't tell her everything. I just got so excited that it's working out according to plan. Abaddon grits his teeth. The plan you need. 2. Shut up. About. He gives me a pretty solid sideways stink eye. I'm impressed. I give him a thumbs up. I don't think he understands why. You're probably not supposed to thumbs up people giving you a sideways stink eye. I put my thumb down slowly, and then my arm, and then I stare at my feet. If I get through this, and the world isn't totally on fire, I think I'd like to ask Director O'Toole if I can get a new pair of shoes. Maybe ones with Velcro instead of laces. Laces are such a pain sometimes. They always come undone when you're running and then you trip over them, or they snag on something and rip the ends off. I have to ask. Do you guys even have a plan? Samael glances at his half-finished chalkboard art piece. Abaddon cranes his neck to see how far away from me he can look without finding. He's turning his head back around in the opposite direction like an owl. We've been working this for a while now, Samael says with amusement. From the moment I first sensed you, holding those 4 totems and glowing like a beacon in the dark void, I've been slowly moving the pieces in this little chess game of mine. I sniffed the air. I was planning to say something badass about smelling bullshit, but instead, the odor slaps me like my Nana would if she heard me using such language. I instantly regret having a nose. I would like to rewind the clock exactly 5 seconds and pinch it shut. How did I not smell this before? And as a result, my awesome response comes out as, "Smells like blug." My eyes start watering. I have to wipe the tears out of them. Gah! Give me a second. Abaddon sniffs the air curiously. He doesn't show any indication he smelled the same thing I did. They give me an entire minute as I dig the palms of my hands into my eye sockets and rub furiously. The stench lingers in my nostrils like the shadow of a smell. I'm not even sure I'm still smelling it, or my brain is just rewinding and playing it back to me on a loop. It honestly smells like something died in here, I tell them. It's probably the dead Irishman in the next room, says Abaddon casually, the one with your friend's spirit inside. Your little ruse might have worked if I hadn't personally dragged the real soul of Sean McTavish down to the pit myself just before his body showed up, claiming to be him with the cadence of a 10-year-old. Let me guess. That was Duma's idea. Right. Meredith in that Jinn guy's body. I keep forgetting about her. I'm a terrible friend now that I think about it. After all, she's the whole reason I tracked down the carnival and came into contact with Felix and had to go meet Samiel, and all of this got started. And then we sew her up in a dead guy bag and toss her in with the sharks. I spit something gross and kind of solid out. What I was going to say is that you're full of it. Baloney. Me? Abaddon points at himself with two hands. No, Samael. I catch my right eye welling up and wipe another stink tear away. His bullcrap about having this all planned out years ago. Sam is wiping his chalk-covered hands off on his nice white suit, leaving streaky brownish rainbow dust down his front. He kind of looks like a kid's show host, like Captain Kangaroo, or that guy who wore the skin-tight bodysuit with all his muscles drawn on it. Man, that guy used to scare me. Do people actually watch his show, or only ever flip to it by accident while changing channels? Are you accusing me of lying? He asks. I collected 4 totems by accident, and then he jabs one long, thin finger at me from across the room. Wrong! That was no accident. I gave Felix Clay Raziel's totem, knowing it would put him on a course toward destruction that could only end by revealing who Pashar's totem bearer was. I snort, and then I regret it, because it still smells awful in here. I think I'm becoming numb to the odor, though. It doesn't knock me on my ass quite like the last time. I try to finish my thought. And then, what happened? You made me give one up. What was the point of that? You seem to forget how things went down, child. I tested you first to see if you were corruptible. Fine. Whatever. And after that, you had Ono kidnap me and ended up getting the snot beat out of you by Abaddon here, and Pashar, and Dumas. Thrown in your little brainwashing room. You're saying that was all part of some grand master plan? His face flickers with anger for a split second. Then he turns to his brother. I'm sorry, didn't you say they were almost here? This is taking forever. Sorry for making you wait, brothers. Out of the shadows of the doorway steps Paskar, holding the hand of the other me, who in turn is holding my trident. I didn't even notice I'd dropped it. She looks at me and waves with her trident hand, then seems to notice that I'm looking at the trident and not her, and hides it behind her back. Pashkar crosses his arms. I wanted to hear what your grand master plan was myself before I interrupted. Abaddon shifts into a sort of fighting stance like you see in those punching arcade games. He puts 2 of his hands up, clenched into fists, his other 2 arms stretched outward, and his second pair of hands go into that grrr, I'm a scary monster kind of position, as if he's going to claw at Pashkar's chest like a tiger. He went into the same stance when he was facing off against Hecate. After several awkward seconds of nobody saying anything, Abaddon tilts his head to look past Pashar at the empty doorway. Where's the rest? He drops his fighter stance. You came alone? Really? He raises his hands again. I could crush you inside a box of stone and send you to the deepest, coldest tier of the pit. Pashkar's eyes glow brighter under his dark shades. I can almost make them out, like looking at the sun during an eclipse with a pair of polarized sunglasses. If you mean to fight me, do it. Abaddon does it. He snaps his wrists up, the two connected to his tiger claw hands, and a double pair of razor-sharp stalagmites shoot up out of the floor. I open my mouth to yell, "Look out!" But it wouldn't have helped because Pashkar isn't there anymore. Other me is watching with a similar wide-eyed face of surprise, and her hand that was holding his is dropping to her side. But next to her is just an empty space. Pashkar is 5 feet away. He's leaning like Michael Jackson in his smooth criminal music video and has a big, shiny sword drawn. The blade shines unnaturally bright in the torchlight and gets right in my eyes. "Stop!" Samael shouts at the two of them. Abaddon ignores him. He follows Peshar with his hands, jabbing a finger at his brother's new location. A dozen splinters of rock erupt from the floor, walls, and ceiling, crashing together right in Pashar's center. But Pashar has moved again, with the same blinding speed. It's not really blinding. I don't know why people say that. Maybe it's because you move so fast that you're faster than light, and if you're faster than light, you probably can't see because everything's dark until the light catches up with you. I don't know. I can never get the hang of these weird phrases people use. Anyway, the point is, Pashar closes the distance between him and Abaddon by about half in less time than it took me to think about it. Me. Hey, me. Dirt Lily comes dashing over, not like lightning, not at blinding speed. She's waving the trident of Durga over her head. I brought our trident. One of her shoes is untied, though, and the shoelace snags under her foot. She falls flat on her face with a loud whomp. The trident clatters to the floor between us, right near Samael. Samael picks it up and admires it. My, the demon-slaying Trishul of Durga. Imagine the look on her face if she knew a child was running around with this like a toy. He turns to me, gripping it by the handle menacingly. "What were you going to do with this?" There are no demons here. Behind him, Abaddon throws up a thick wall of chiseled stone between himself and Pashar. He thrusts his hands out in a pushing motion, and the wall slides like it's on wheels, hurtling toward my best friend. I only catch the action through the corner of my eye, because right now, Samael with Durga's trident seems a bit more of a threat to me. "It worked well enough on Mott," I tell him. I make a fist and try to pull the trident from his grip with my mind, but I'm not a Jedi, and this isn't Star Wars. Samael puts his hands up and yells at the top of his lungs, "Can we all stop fighting for 1 second?" Abaddon cranes his neck in that owl manner again. His stone wall skids to a crunchy stop. Peshar pauses mid-blinding sprint, and they both glance at each other for a second before lowering their guards. Other Lily lies on the ground with her face kissing the stones. She seems to be rubbing her nose against the floor quietly. I wonder if she felt any pain when she slammed her face into the ground. If I were her, and I guess I am, I'd probably feel pretty stupid for running with a dangerous weapon and then tripping over my own shoelaces. I even knew it was coming. I just didn't know it was going to be the other me that did it. Samael pounds the trident on the stones. He walks toward me, then holds out the trident for me to take. I keep my eyes on him, watching for any flicker of deception, and grip the trident handle. He lets me take it. "I meant what I said, Lily. I mean, you no harm, and I'm sorry for having to use you as I did." Abaddon's forehead wrinkles up into 1,000 frowns. His eyes dart from Samael to me to Samael to me to Pashar to Samael to me. Pashar's reaction is hard to gauge since he's wearing his shades, but he also turns his head like he's not sure who to be looking at. Tension oozes out of the cracks in the walls. I just thought that up myself. Oozing tension. "You still got it, Lily." Other Lily picks her head up off the floor and gives everyone in the room a quick glance. "No more fighting?" she asks nobody in particular. "Does this mean I don't gotta get murdered?" I wince at my own poor grammar. Pashar's armor clanks as he shifts his posture to stand upright. What's your game, brother? There's a whole army on its way to take you two down, along with whatever others you have on your side. Come to think of it, besides Ma and Ono, there haven't been a lot of others working with Sam and Abaddon, at least not that I've noticed. I figure Furfur has to be somewhere, plotting to slit me from top to bottom and then wear my skin like a pair of footy pajamas, complete with butt flap. Maybe Felix is helping as well. Who knows where he went? And Hecate, surely they let her out of that place they put her. I forget what they called it, but it was somewhere with a funny name that they said was in the pit. Samael scratches at the back of his head and gives me a smirk. This flesh is itchy. Yeah, that's not a creepy thing to say. This flesh is itchy. Okay, Hannibal Lecter. He turns to Pashkar. I'm sorry that you brought so many to a battle that is not meant to be, Pashar. There is only one side here, the side against the coming darkness, and we are all on it. Pashkar gives a heavy sigh. Not this again. Sam, you're not well. You've taken things too far again. No, Samael shakes his head. I hadn't taken things far enough. Not in eons. But now, I did what needed to be done, for all our sakes, and before you ask, I do not blame you for doubting me. I doubted myself, for centuries. He looks at me with those almost crazy eyes again. It wasn't until I saw her, shining in the void with the four totems, and I touched her mind to test her. In that moment I saw it. I saw the beast, and it saw me. Oh no, Dirt Lily cries. Not the beast. I don't think she has the slightest clue what he's even talking about. Don't be mad with Abaddon, he continues. His motivation was purely for the good of all. And please, tell Nathaniel that I wept after what I did to him. I know I can never make amends for the pain I caused, but hopefully, when he sees the result of all this, he'll understand. Stop being cryptic, Sam. Tell me what you're planning. As if on cue, heavy metal rattling fills the hallway Lily and Pashar came from. We all turn and watch the dark corridor as the noise gets louder. Soon, a whole squadron of angels in clanky armor and gray-skinned people come marching into the room. Dumas is at the head of them, with Azrael behind him. Here we are. Dumas clears his throat bones as he looks around the room. We got a little sidetracked by a vampire who is picking up breadcrumbs. My breadcrumbs, Dirt Lily cries. I vanquished the fiend, shouts one of the gray people, setting off a wave of murmurs from the rest. Well, I did, the voice says glumly. Never mind that, Azrael states with a booming voice that echoes down the hallway behind him, causing several gray people to cover their gray ears. Pashar's question stands. Don't keep us waiting, dear brother. What are you planning? It's already done, interjects Abaddon. The whole crowd turns to look at him. Even Pashtar looks shocked. What is already done? Samael's mouth curls up into a Grinchian smile. Not an evil smile. He just seems genuinely pleased with himself. My family, he proclaims to the room, spreading his arms wide to show off his rainbow chalk-smudged suit. Aside from one gravely wronged Nosferatu, pardon the pun, and, if what Sweet Lily says is true, one grievously wounded Canaanite death god, surely you all noticed a distinct lack of faculty on hand. More murmurs flow from the legion of steel-plated angels and gray folk. Samael pats his chest, sending a cloud of chalk dust into the air. Thanks in no small part to the knife. Lillian Alexandra Madwhip here. He gestures to me, then notices me on the floor as well, and gestures to her too. And there, I suppose, I successfully golemized myself. Blasphemy, shouts the Lady Angel. Someone throws what looks like a solid gold spear from the crowd of people, but it misses hitting anyone by miles and just clangs to the floor over by Samael's chalkboard. More murmurs follow, followed by someone muttering, Sorry. Yes, yes. He dismissively waves his hand at his sister angel, causing her to scowl even harder at him. Funny how nobody called it blasphemous when Michael did it 2 millennia ago. But more importantly, upon returning to the Vale, I quickly set about giving the gift of flesh to all the creatures who stood beside me for so long. He starts rattling off what I can only guess are names while counting on his pale fingers. The Afrit, the Cyclops, the Monoceros, the Lycanthrope and its kin, all the different manner of yokai, the Dullahan, he winks at me, many more Nosferatu than I care to count. He does a thoughtful eye roll like he's trying to remember something else, and really just every mythical being you've allowed me to keep caged up in here to play with people's dreams and nightmares since the earliest days of their kind. The entire crowd stares at him. Azrael starts, "You didn't," and then I released them, Samael says with a nod, out into the material world, where they will force humanity to face its darkest fears and ultimately become stronger for it. He turns his pleased with himself smile at me. What doesn't kill them, of course.